Time, a concept that has fascinated philosophers, scientists, and thinkers for centuries, is often viewed as a linear progression from past, through present, to future. But what if time isn't as straightforward as it seems? In physics, time is not merely a ticking clock, but a dimension, much like space, that can bend and stretch, as described by Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. This theory suggests that time can actually move slower in strong gravitational fields, which means that if you were to spend time near a black hole, you would experience time differently compared to someone far away from it. This phenomenon, known as time dilation, has been proven through experiments with atomic clocks, which have shown that clocks on airplanes, traveling at high speeds, tick slightly slower than those on the ground. Furthermore, the nature of time raises intriguing questions about its beginning and end. The Big Bang Theory posits that time itself began with the explosion that created our universe, which means that, before this event, the concept of time as we understand it did not exist. This challenges our perception of time as an eternal flow and suggests that it has a finite origin. Additionally, some theories in quantum physics propose that time may not be as continuous as we perceive it, hinting at the possibility of time existing in discrete chunks, much like particles in quantum mechanics. Another captivating aspect of time is the way it affects our memories and experiences. Psychological studies indicate that our perception of time can vary based on our emotions and activities. For example, time seems to fly when we are having fun, yet it drags during boring moments. This subjective experience of time can impact our lives significantly, influencing how we plan for the future or reflect on the past. Some researchers even contend that our brains might process time differently depending on our age, with younger individuals experiencing time as moving slower compared to older adults, who often feel like time is speeding up. Moreover, different cultures perceive and interpret time in diverse ways. In Western societies, time is often seen as linear, where punctuality and schedules are highly valued, while many indigenous cultures view time as cyclical, focusing on the rhythms of nature and the seasons. This cultural perspective can profoundly shape how communities organize their lives, celebrate events, and relate to one another. There are also philosophical implications surrounding the nature of time. Thinkers like Henri Bergson argued that time should not just be measured by clocks and calendars, but understood through the lived experience, emphasizing the qualitative aspects of time. Psychological time, often referred to as subjective time, is how we perceive the passage of time, which can differ significantly from the actual, measured time indicated by a clock. This concept is fascinating, as it reveals the complex relationship between our experiences and our awareness of time. For instance, have you ever noticed that time seems to fly when you're having fun, but drags on during a boring lecture? This phenomenon occurs because our brains process time based on our experiences and emotions, rather than simply counting seconds or minutes. Research suggests that during moments of high engagement, such as when we're deeply engrossed in a favorite hobby, our brain's attentional resources are heavily focused, making time feel compressed. Conversely, during tedious or stressful periods, our minds may wander, leading to a feeling that time is stretching out, as we become more aware of each passing second. This discrepancy between psychological time and clock time can also be influenced by age. For example, children often perceive time more slowly than adults do. A year for a 5-year-old feels much longer than it does for a 50-year-old, largely because, for children, each year represents a larger portion of their overall life experience. This idea is supported by developmental psychology, which suggests that, as we age, our experiences become more familiar, and the novelty of each moment diminishes, leading to a compressed sense of time. Interestingly, cultural factors also come into play. In some cultures, time is viewed more fluidly, with a focus on relationships and experiences rather than strict schedules. This can lead to a more relaxed perception of time, contrasting with cultures that prioritize punctuality and efficiency. which may create a heightened awareness of time passing. Additionally, psychological states like anxiety or depression can alter our perception of time, with individuals experiencing anxiety often feeling time is moving too slowly, while those in a depressive state may feel as if time is slipping away too quickly. Furthermore, the concept of mindfulness has gained traction as a means of enhancing our experience of time. Practicing mindfulness encourages individuals to focus on the present moment, which can lead to a richer experience of time. When we are fully present, engaging with our surroundings and sensations, we might find that time feels more expansive and fulfilling. This suggests that our perception of time can be intentionally shaped by our mental practices and choices, allowing us to enjoy life more fully. Ultimately, understanding the difference between psychological time and clock time opens up a new dimension in how we experience our lives. Biological clocks, also known as circadian rhythms, play a crucial role in how organisms perceive time, influencing various physiological processes, including sleep-wake cycles, hormone release, and even metabolism. These internal timekeepers are found in nearly all living beings, from humans to plants, and they operate on a roughly 24-hour cycle, responding to environmental cues like light and temperature. In humans, the master biological clock is located in a part of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which receives direct input from the eyes, allowing it to synchronize with the day-night cycle. This synchronization is essential for maintaining overall health, as disruptions to these rhythms can lead to various health problems, such as insomnia, depression, and metabolic disorders. Interestingly, research has shown that our perception of time can change based on our biological state. For example, when we are tired or under stress, time may seem to drag on, whereas during moments of excitement or joy, time appears to fly by. This subjective experience of time is closely linked to the release of neurotransmitters, such as dopamine, which can alter our sense of how quickly or slowly time passes. Furthermore, studies have indicated that age can affect our biological clocks, with younger individuals often having more flexible and resilient rhythms compared to older adults. Additionally, the effects of technology, particularly screens and artificial light, have raised concerns about their impact on our circadian rhythms, as exposure to blue light at night can interfere with the production of melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep. This disruption can lead to a cascade of effects, impacting not only our sleep quality, but also our overall mood and cognitive function. As we learn more about the intricate relationship between biological clocks and time perception, it becomes increasingly clear how vital it is to align our daily routines with the natural rhythms of our bodies, promoting better health and well-being. Memory plays a crucial role in how we experience time, influencing our perception of past, present, and future moments in fascinating ways. When we think about time, it is not just a linear progression of events. Rather, our memories shape how we understand and relate to those events. For instance, when we recall a joyful moment from our childhood, that memory can make that time feel much closer, almost as if we are reliving it, while at the same time, it can make the present feel fleeting in comparison. The brain processes memories in a complex manner, involving various regions, including the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, which work together to store, retrieve, and reconstruct our experiences. Interestingly, the way we remember events can alter our perception of time's passage. For example, during a busy day filled with activities, we tend to feel that time has flown by, while a dull day can stretch endlessly, largely due to how our memories are formed and recalled. Moreover, the emotions tied to our memories can also impact our perception of time. When we experience intense emotions, such as fear or excitement, our brains become more alert, leading to a heightened awareness of time. This phenomenon can be observed in extreme situations, like during a car accident, where individuals often report that time seemed to slow down, allowing them to process more information in what felt like a shorter period. In contrast, during routine or less stimulating experiences, time may feel like it drags, as fewer memories are formed, leading to a sense of time stretching out. Additionally, the reminiscence effect suggests that as we look back on our lives, we may remember certain periods as longer or shorter based on the richness of the experiences we had during those times. For instance, a summer filled with adventures may seem to last longer in our memories than a winter spent indoors, even if both seasons were of equal length. Furthermore, the way we anticipate future events also ties back to our memories. Our expectations and excitement about upcoming experiences are often shaped by past encounters, allowing us to project how we believe time will feel as we await those moments. This anticipation can create a sense of urgency or a feeling of time dragging based on how appealing we find the future event. Interestingly, studies have shown that people who engage in mindfulness practices can enhance their present moment awareness, which can, in turn, influence how they perceive time. Mindfulness helps people appreciate the current moment more fully, leading to richer experiences. Temporal distortion in altered states of consciousness is a fascinating phenomenon that has intrigued scientists, psychologists, and philosophers alike. Individuals often report experiencing time differently when they are in altered states, such as during meditation, deep relaxation, or under the influence of certain substances. For example, people may feel that time has slowed down, or conversely, that it has sped up. This can happen during intense experiences, such as during trauma or heightened emotional states, where moments can feel like hours, while mundane moments may seem to pass in the blink of an eye. Research suggests that our perception of time is closely linked to our cognitive processes, including attention, memory, and emotional state. When one is deeply focused on an activity, such as painting or playing music, time can seem to dissolve, leading to a state often referred to as flow. In contrast, when someone is anxious or bored, time can feel agonizingly slow. These experiences can also be observed in altered states induced by certain psychoactive substances, where the brain's normal processing of time is disrupted, leading to unusual perceptions. Studies using brain imaging techniques, such as fMRI, have shown changes in brain activity patterns during these altered states. When individuals engage in mindfulness meditation, for instance, specific brain areas associated with time perception, such as the insula and the prefrontal cortex, show altered activation. This suggests that the brain's internal clock, which helps us track time, may be influenced significantly by our mental state. In some instances, individuals report losing track of time altogether, which can be both a liberating and disorienting experience. Moreover, cultural influences can shape how we experience time. In some cultures, time is viewed as a linear progression, while in others, it may be seen as cyclical. This cultural lens can affect how individuals perceive time during altered states. For example, indigenous cultures often have rituals that alter time perception, creating a sense of connection to the past and future, which may lead to profound experiences of temporal distortion. The effects of music, too, play a significant role in how we perceive time. Certain rhythms and melodies can create a sense of timelessness, where the listener becomes immersed in the sound, losing a sense of the passage of time. This is not just a subjective feeling. Studies have shown that musical experiences can actually alter brain function in ways that change our perception of time. In therapeutic contexts, such as in psychedelic-assisted therapy, patients often report significant time dilation. Is a fascinating concept that can make us rethink how we perceive time. It's not just a scientific theory, but also a subjective experience, and this can vary dramatically from person to person. When we talk about time dilation, we often think about how time can seem to slow down or speed up under different conditions. For example, if you're having a great time at a party, you might feel like the hours just fly by, while a tedious meeting can feel like it stretches on forever. This subjective experience can be influenced by many factors, including our emotional state, level of engagement, and even our age. When people are excited or deeply focused on something, they often lose track of time altogether. This is sometimes referred to as flow, a state where people become so immersed in an activity that they forget everything else around them. In contrast, during moments of boredom or stress, time can seem to drag, and each tick of the clock can feel like an eternity. Research suggests that our brains process time differently based on our activities and emotions, which can lead to these varying perceptions. Interestingly, age can also play a role in how we perceive time. Many people report that as they grow older, time seems to pass more quickly. One theory behind this is that each year becomes a smaller fraction of our lives as we age. For a 5-year-old, 1 year is 20% of their life, while for a 50-year-old, it's only 2%. This shift in perspective can make time feel like it's speeding up as we age. Cultural factors can also shape our experience of time. For instance, in some cultures, there is a strong emphasis on punctuality and efficiency, which can lead to a more rigid perception of time. In contrast, cultures that prioritize relationships and social interactions may have a more fluid understanding of time, where being present and engaged in the moment takes precedence over strict schedules. Moreover, psychological factors, such as anxiety or anticipation, can alter our experience of time. When we're anxious, we often find ourselves fixating on the future, which can make time feel like it's dragging. On the other hand, when we're eagerly awaiting an event, time can seem to speed up. This interplay between our mental state and the passage of time highlights how subjective and complex our experience of time can be. In the realm of physics, time dilation is a concept that arises from Einstein's theory of relativity. Time perception varies significantly across cultures, shaping how people experience and value time in their daily lives. In many Western cultures, time is often viewed as linear, with a strong emphasis on punctuality and strict schedules. This perspective fosters a sense of urgency, where being late can be seen as disrespectful, and planning ahead is highly regarded. In contrast, numerous cultures, particularly in parts of Africa, Latin America, and Asia, tend to have a more fluid understanding of time. In these cultures, relationships and social interactions take precedence over strict adherence to schedules, leading to a more relaxed approach to time management. For instance, in countries like Mexico, the concept of hora mexicana reflects a more flexible approach, where arriving late to social gatherings is often the norm and is accepted as part of the cultural fabric. Moreover, this difference in time perception can also be observed in how various cultures celebrate events. In some cultures, such as the Japanese, there is a strong focus on the past, where traditions and historical significance play a crucial role in shaping current practices. This contrasts with cultures that prioritize future-oriented thinking, where planning for upcoming opportunities and goals is paramount. For example, in many Western societies, the New Year is celebrated with resolutions aimed at self-improvement and future success, while in other cultures, the focus might be on honoring ancestors and reflecting on the past year. Additionally, the concept of polychronic versus monochronic time further illustrates these differences. Monochronic cultures, like those in the United States and Germany, prefer to do one thing at a time, valuing schedules and deadlines, while polychronic cultures, such as those in the Middle East and parts of Africa, are more likely to multitask and view time as a more communal experience, where relationships can take priority over the clock. This distinction can lead to misunderstandings in international business settings, where punctuality may be taken for granted by those from monochronic cultures, while those from polychronic backgrounds may prioritize building relationships over adhering strictly to time constraints. Furthermore, even within the same culture, individual perceptions of time can vary widely based on personal experiences, age, and context. For instance, younger generations may adopt a more relaxed approach to time, influenced by the fast-paced nature of technology and social media, where instant communication blurs the lines of traditional timekeeping. In contrast, Older generations may hold on to more conventional views of punctuality and structured time, leading to generational differences as people age. Their perception of time often changes in intriguing ways, leading to a noticeable impact on how they experience and relate to time. Younger individuals, particularly children and teenagers, tend to perceive time as passing slowly, especially during long school days or when they're eagerly anticipating an exciting event, such as a birthday or a holiday. This phenomenon is partly due to the way their brains process new experiences. For younger people, many moments are filled with firsts, which can make time feel elongated as their brains are busy forming memories and learning new things. In contrast, as people enter adulthood, they often find that time seems to accelerate, a sensation that can be attributed to the routine and repetitive nature of adult life. Responsibilities, such as work commitments or family obligations, can lead to days blending together, making time feel like it's racing by. Moreover, psychological studies suggest that this shift in time perception is linked to the amount of novel experiences one has. When individuals engage in new activities, travel, or meet new people, their brains are more engaged, creating rich memories that can make time feel more expansive. On the other hand, when life becomes predictable and monotonous, it can feel as though time is slipping away unnoticed. This idea is often echoed by older adults, who frequently express that their later years seem to fly by, a sentiment that can be associated with fewer new experiences as they settle into a more stable routine. Interestingly, the impact of age on time awareness is also tied to emotional states. For example, moments of joy or excitement can stretch time, while periods of stress or boredom tend to contract it. Research indicates that younger people tend to have a more intense emotional response to experiences, which can greatly influence their time perception. Additionally, older adults, who may have a more reflective approach to life, can find themselves contemplating their past, leading to a deeper awareness of how quickly time has passed. Furthermore, cultural factors can play a significant role in shaping one's perception of time. In some cultures, there is a strong emphasis on living in the moment, while others may prioritize planning for the future or reflecting on the past. This cultural lens can affect how individuals of different ages perceive the passage of time. For instance, in cultures that value community and shared experiences, older adults may feel a stronger connection to time through family gatherings and traditions, creating a rich tapestry of memories that offers a sense of continuity. Whereas in more individualistic cultures, older adults may feel a sense of time can be perceived in many different ways, and it often has a profound impact on our emotional states. Interestingly, psychological studies have shown that our emotional experiences can influence how we perceive the passage of time. For example, when we are engaged in enjoyable activities, time seems to fly by, whereas during boring or unpleasant moments, it can drag on endlessly. This phenomenon is sometimes referred to as time flies when you're having fun, and it illustrates how our emotions can shape our awareness of time. Additionally, research has found that people in positive emotional states tend to underestimate the duration of time intervals, while those experiencing negative emotions often overestimate them, suggesting a direct link between emotion and time perception. Moreover, our memories also play a crucial role in how we perceive time. When we look back at significant life events, especially those filled with strong emotions, they can seem to stretch or compress time. For instance, a traumatic event might leave a vivid impression that makes the time spent during that event feel much longer in retrospect. On the other hand, joyful occasions, like a wedding or a birthday party, might blur together in our memories, making them feel fleeting. This interplay between emotional states and time is fascinating, as it highlights how subjective our experiences can be. The relationship between time and emotions also extends to how we manage our time in everyday life. People often prioritize activities that evoke positive feelings, such as spending time with loved ones, engaging in hobbies, or pursuing passions, while they may procrastinate or avoid tasks that generate anxiety or stress. This can lead to a cycle where our emotional states dictate our time management, which in turn can affect our overall well-being. For example, someone who feels overwhelmed by work deadlines may perceive time as scarce, leading to stress and a sense of urgency, while someone who practices mindfulness and takes breaks to recharge may feel more in control and engaged with their time. Interestingly, cultural influences can also shape how we experience time and emotions. In some cultures, time is viewed as linear, emphasizing punctuality and deadlines, whereas in others, time may be seen as more fluid, allowing for flexibility and spontaneity. This cultural perspective can influence how people connect their emotional states to their perception of time. For instance, in cultures that prioritize collectivism and relationships, people might be more inclined to savor moments, leading to a different emotional experience tied to time compared to more individualistic cultures that focus on efficiency and productivity. Lastly, the way we talk about time can reflect the relationship between attention and time perception is a fascinating topic that dives deep into how we experience time, influenced by our focus and awareness. When we engage fully in an activity, whether it's watching a thrilling movie or playing an exciting video game, we often feel like time flies by, almost as if we're in a time warp. This phenomenon occurs because our attention is fully immersed in the task at hand, leaving little room for us to monitor the passage of time. On the flip side, when we are bored or waiting, time seems to drag on endlessly, a sensation that stems from having less to engage our attention, making each second feel longer as our minds wander. Research in psychology shows that our perception of time is not a fixed measure, but rather it is malleable and can be altered by how we allocate our attention. For instance, studies have demonstrated that when individuals are asked to focus on a specific task, their perception of time can shrink, leading them to underestimate how long they have been engaged. Conversely, distractions can lead to an overestimation of time, particularly when we are anxiously waiting for something, as our attention shifts to the ticking clock rather than the activity itself. This complexity is further illustrated in experiments where participants, engrossed in various activities, report distinct experiences of time based on their attentional focus, revealing that our cognitive resources play a crucial role in how we perceive time. It's noteworthy that attention is not just about what we focus on, but also about how much cognitive effort we invest in the task, which can create a rich tapestry of temporal experiences. Moreover, different types of attention, such as sustained attention, which is the ability to maintain focus over longer periods, and selective attention, which allows us to focus on specific stimuli while ignoring others, can also influence our time perception in unique ways. The interplay of these factors illustrates why time can feel like it speeds up or slows down, depending on our engagement level and the nature of the activities we are involved in. Understanding this relationship not only provides insights into our daily experiences, but also has implications in various fields, including education, where attention strategies can be employed to enhance learning and improve time management skills. The illusion of presentism is a fascinating concept that relates to how we perceive time and our experiences within it. Presentism, in a philosophical sense, suggests that only the present moment is real, while the past and future are not, leading to a unique way of understanding our existence. This idea can be linked to how we often feel that the present moment is all that matters, overshadowing our memories of the past or our hopes for the future. Interestingly, our brains are wired to focus on immediate experiences, which can create a sense of urgency or heightened awareness of what is happening right now. This focus on the present can sometimes lead to a neglect of the valuable lessons from our past or careful planning for our future. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon extensively, revealing that when we immerse ourselves in the present, we may experience increased happiness and mindfulness. However, this can also mean that we overlook important contexts that give depth to our experiences. For example, people who are overly focused on the present might miss out on remembering past achievements that could motivate them or fail to set future goals that could drive them forward. This balancing act between enjoying the present while acknowledging the past and considering the future is crucial for a well-rounded life. Moreover, the illusion of presentism can be observed in our daily interactions with technology. With the constant influx of notifications and updates, many individuals find themselves caught in a cycle of reacting to the present moment, often at the expense of meaningful relationships. This phenomenon has given rise to a cultural discussion about digital presence versus actual presence, prompting some to seek a more mindful approach to their technology use. The impact of social media is particularly noteworthy. It can create a distorted sense of reality, where one feels compelled to showcase a perfect present, often idealizing moments that may not reflect the entirety of one's life. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy when comparing one's reality to the curated lives seen online. In literature and art, the theme of presentism also appears, as creators often capture fleeting moments, emphasizing the beauty and significance of the now. This has led to movements that celebrate spontaneity and immediacy, valuing the current experience over historical or future context. However, some critiques argue that this can lead to a shallow understanding of life, as ignoring the past can prevent us from learning from it. This tension between living in the moment and reflecting on our history is a rich area for exploration, as it touches on our identity, our values, and how we relate. Time, as a dimension in physics, plays a fascinating role in how we understand the universe. It's often considered the fourth dimension, alongside the three dimensions of space, which are length, width, and height. In classical physics, time was viewed as an absolute entity, where events would occur in a linear fashion, one after the other, but Albert Einstein's theory of relativity transformed this understanding significantly. According to relativity, time is not absolute. Rather, it is relative, meaning that it can be experienced differently depending on the observer's speed and gravitational field. For instance, if one twin travels into space at a speed close to the speed of light, and the other twin stays on Earth, the traveling twin would age more slowly than their sibling, a phenomenon known as time dilation. This concept reveals that time can stretch and compress, influenced by factors such as gravity and velocity, which leads to the idea that time is more flexible than previously thought. Furthermore, in the realm of quantum mechanics, the nature of time becomes even more complex. Some theories suggest that, at the quantum level, time may not be a continuous flow, but rather a series of discrete events, resembling a series of snapshots. This raises intriguing questions about the nature of reality and how we perceive time, as it challenges our everyday experiences where time seems to flow smoothly and consistently. Additionally, the concept of a block universe arises from these discussions, where past, present, and future are seen as equally real, implying that time might be an illusion and all moments exist simultaneously in a vast, four-dimensional space-time fabric. In cosmology, time is also tied to the beginning of the universe, specifically the Big Bang, which marks the point in time when the universe began expanding from an infinitely dense state. Before the Big Bang, it is difficult to define time as we understand it, since the laws of physics as we know them break down. As the universe evolved, so did our understanding of time, leading to theories about the fate of the universe, whether it will continue to expand indefinitely or eventually collapse back in on itself, which also raises questions about time's ultimate fate. The measurement of time has also evolved over centuries, from sundials and water clocks in ancient civilizations to the highly precise atomic clocks of today, which utilize the vibrations of atoms to keep time more accurately than ever before. These advancements allow scientists to explore concepts like gravitational waves and the effects they have on time, further intertwining time with the arrow of time, a concept deeply rooted in physics and philosophy, refers to the one-way direction in which time flows, from past to present and into the future. This idea is closely linked to entropy, a term that describes the level of disorder or randomness in a system. In simple terms, as time moves forward, the entropy of an isolated system tends to increase, meaning that systems naturally progress from ordered states to disordered ones. This relationship was famously captured in the second law of thermodynamics, which states that in any energy exchange, if no energy enters or leaves the system, the potential energy will always decrease, leading to a rise in entropy. Imagine a room filled with neatly stacked blocks. If you knock them over, they will scatter, creating a more chaotic arrangement. This scattering is a metaphor for how entropy works, demonstrating that while order can be created, it requires energy, and without that energy, disorder tends to increase over time. The arrow of time can be seen in various phenomena, such as the melting of ice, the aging of living beings, or the fading of sunlight at dusk, all of which illustrate how systems evolve towards greater entropy. Interestingly, the arrow of time is not just a physical phenomenon, but it also has implications for our everyday experiences. For instance, we remember the past, but we cannot remember the future, which aligns with our perception of time flowing in one direction. This perception is so ingrained that it influences how we think about life, choices, and events. In the realm of cosmology, the arrow of time raises intriguing questions about the universe itself. Some scientists speculate that the early universe was in a state of low entropy, and as it expanded, entropy increased, leading to the complex structures we observe today, like galaxies and stars. This idea suggests that the universe began in a highly ordered state and has been moving towards disorder ever since, shaping everything from the formation of galaxies to the eventual fate of stars. Moreover, various interpretations of quantum mechanics also touch on the arrow of time. In some interpretations, quantum events seem to be time-symmetric, meaning they don't inherently favor a direction of time, yet when we observe outcomes, they still align with our experience of time moving forward. This paradox highlights the complexity of understanding time and entropy, as our observations are shaped by the very laws that govern these processes. Furthermore, the concept of time and entropy has philosophical implications as well. The relationship between time, quantum mechanics, a fundamental theory in physics, describes the behavior of matter and energy on the smallest scales, such as atoms and subatomic particles. One of the most intriguing aspects of quantum mechanics is its relationship with time, which has puzzled scientists for decades. In classical physics, time is often viewed as a constant, an unchanging backdrop against which events occur, but quantum mechanics challenges this notion in fascinating ways. For instance, in the quantum realm, particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously, a phenomenon known as superposition, and this can lead to a different understanding of time itself. In quantum mechanics, time is not always linear, and some interpretations suggest that it may be more flexible than we think. One of the most famous thought experiments involving time in quantum mechanics is the delayed choice experiment, which shows that particles can behave differently based on whether they are observed or not, potentially implying that the act of measurement can influence past events. This raises profound questions about causality and whether the future can affect the past, a concept that can be hard to wrap our minds around, but is taken seriously by some physicists. Another captivating aspect is the idea of time as a dimension similar to space. In the framework of quantum mechanics and relativity, time is treated as a coordinate in a four-dimensional space-time continuum. This suggests that just as we can move through different points in space, there might be ways to think about movement through time itself, although the implications of this are still hotly debated. Moreover, concepts such as quantum entanglement, where particles become interconnected in such a way that the state of one immediately affects the other, regardless of distance, add another layer of complexity to our understanding of time. Some researchers speculate that entangled particles might communicate information instantaneously, which could challenge our conventional understanding of temporal order. The question of whether time is fundamental or emergent is another hot topic in theoretical physics. Some theorists propose that time might not be a basic building block of the universe, but rather an emergent property that arises from more fundamental, timeless processes. This idea suggests that time, as we understand it, may be a macroscopic phenomenon, much like temperature, which emerges from the collective behavior of many particles. Additionally, the concept of time in quantum mechanics has implications for the nature of reality itself. The Copenhagen interpretation, one of the most widely taught interpretations of quantum mechanics, posits that particles do not have definite properties until they are measured. Leading, the block universe theory, also known as eternalism, presents a fascinating perspective on the nature of time and existence, suggesting that past, present, and future events all coexist simultaneously rather than flowing in a linear fashion as we typically perceive them. This idea challenges our conventional understanding of time, where we see it as a river, always moving forward, where the past is gone, the present is fleeting, and the future is yet to be written. Instead, proponents of the block universe theory argue that time is more like a landscape, where every moment is laid out in its entirety, existing like points on a timeline, and all moments are equally real, regardless of their position on that timeline. This intriguing concept finds its roots in the realms of physics and philosophy, drawing upon insights from the theory of relativity, which suggests that time is not absolute, but is affected by speed and gravity. According to the theory, time can stretch and bend, leading to scenarios where different observers might experience time differently, depending on their relative motion and gravitational fields. In this context, the block universe theory posits that if all times exist simultaneously, then the flow of time is an illusion, a perception created by our consciousness as we navigate through our experiences. One of the key implications of this theory is related to free will and determinism. If all events are already laid out in the block universe, it raises questions about whether our choices are genuinely free, or, if they are predetermined, existing as part of the fabric of time. This philosophical dilemma has sparked numerous debates among thinkers, with some arguing that understanding time in this way could lead to a greater acceptance of fate, while others contend that it undermines the essence of human agency. Moreover, the block universe theory can provide a comforting perspective on loss and grief, as it implies that loved ones who have passed away still exist in a different temporal dimension, eternally preserved in the timeline of existence. This notion can offer solace to those grappling with the finality of death, suggesting that their experiences and memories remain part of the eternal structure of time. Interestingly, the block universe theory has also found its way into popular culture, influencing science fiction literature and films, where time travel and alternative realities often explore the idea that all moments exist concurrently. This imaginative exploration not only entertains, but also encourages audiences to ponder deeper questions about the nature of reality, existence, and our place within the cosmos. In recent years, advancements in physics, particularly in the field of quantum, time travel has long fascinated scientists, writers, and dreamers alike, sparking countless theories and debates, particularly around the concept of paradoxes that arise when one travels back in time. A well-known example is the grandfather paradox, which raises a tricky question. What happens if you travel back in time and accidentally prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother? If this were to happen, it could mean that your parent was never born, which in turn means that you could never have existed, thus creating a loop of contradictions. This paradox highlights the complexities of changing past events and raises questions about causality, the relationship between cause and effect. Another intriguing concept is the bootstrap paradox, which occurs when an object or piece of information is sent back in time, becoming the very source of itself in the future. For instance, imagine a time traveler who brings a book back to the past, giving it to a younger version of themselves, who then publishes it. In this case, the book seems to have no clear origin, as it exists without being created in a traditional sense. This paradox challenges our understanding of linear time and authorship, suggesting that history could be a closed loop, where events repeat but never truly originate. Then, there's the many worlds interpretation, a theory that arises from quantum mechanics, suggesting that every possible outcome of a time travel decision creates a new, branching universe. If you were to travel back and change something significant, such as avoiding an accident, instead of erasing your original timeline, you'd simply create a new one where that accident never happened, while the original timeline continues to exist. This idea opens up fascinating possibilities, indicating that every decision could lead to a multitude of alternate realities, each with its own consequences and histories. Moreover, scientists have pondered the implications of time travel on free will. If time travel is possible, does that mean our futures are predetermined? If someone travels back to alter an event, are they truly changing their destiny, or are they simply fulfilling a timeline that was always meant to happen? This philosophical dilemma dives into the very nature of choice and destiny, raising questions about whether we have control over our lives or if everything is part of a grand, unchangeable design. Lastly, the time loop paradox is a captivating scenario where a time traveler finds themselves caught in a cycle of events that they must repeat endlessly. Imagine a time traveler who goes back to a specific moment in history to witness an event. Only, the way we perceive time can be significantly influenced by the language we speak, and this fascinating connection between language and time perception reveals how deeply intertwined our cognitive processes are with the words we use. Researchers have found that different languages conceptualize time in unique ways, which can shape how speakers of those languages think about the past, present, and future. For example, in English, we often use a linear model of time, describing events as moving from the past, through the present, and into the future. This perspective encourages a clear distinction between these temporal phases, leading English speakers to think about time in a straightforward, sequential manner. In contrast, some indigenous languages, such as the Australian Aboriginal language Yolu Matha, utilize a more cyclical view of time, where events are interconnected and not strictly bound by a linear progression. This can lead speakers of such languages to experience time as more fluid, which might affect their sense of urgency or planning. Similarly, in Mandarin Chinese, time is sometimes described in spatial terms, where future events are conceptualized as being in front of the speaker, while the past is behind them. This spatial understanding can influence how speakers of Mandarin prioritize their actions and decisions based on their temporal perspective. Moreover, research has shown that bilingual individuals may switch their perception of time depending on the language they are using at the moment. This phenomenon, known as code switching, can lead to varying attitudes toward punctuality and the planning of future events. For instance, a Spanish speaker might perceive time more flexibly when speaking Spanish compared to when they switch to English, where time is often treated with more rigidity. This shifting perception can have real-world implications, affecting everything from business negotiations to social gatherings, where the cultural nuances of time management can differ widely. The impact of language on time perception extends beyond mere descriptions, as it can shape the way we remember events. Studies indicate that the grammatical structure of a language can influence how speakers recall past experiences. For instance, speakers of languages that emphasize the completion of actions may be more likely to remember events as having clear beginnings and ends, while those from languages that do not focus on such distinctions might recall events in a more holistic manner. This can lead to differences in how we narrate our stories and share our experiences, ultimately affecting our personal and cultural identities. Another intriguing aspect is the relationship between language and the perception of time intervals. Some studies suggest that speakers of languages with specific time-related vocabulary might be better at estimating durations. Time perception in dreams is a fascinating topic that explores how our minds experience the passage of time while we are asleep. Many people report that dreams can feel like they last for hours, even if they only occur during a brief period of sleep, and this phenomenon raises intriguing questions about how we perceive time when we are dreaming. Studies suggest that during dreams, particularly in the REM stage of sleep, our brains become highly active, almost as if we are experiencing real-life events. This heightened brain activity may contribute to the sense that time is stretching or compressing in ways that are different from our waking lives. Researchers have found that the brain's interpretation of time can be influenced by several factors while we dream. For instance, the emotional intensity of a dream can make it feel longer or shorter. Dreams that are particularly vivid, exciting, or frightening often seem to last longer, even if they occur in a short time frame. In contrast, mundane or routine dreams may feel like they pass by quickly, which aligns with the idea that our brains prioritize emotional experiences when determining the duration of a dream. Moreover, the way we experience time in dreams can also be linked to the narrative structure of the dream itself. Dreams often have a non-linear quality, with events jumping from one scene to another, without a clear passage of time. This disjointed storytelling may alter our perception of how long we are dreaming, as we might find ourselves in different scenarios that feel like they span days, even though they are occurring within a matter of minutes. Interestingly, some studies have attempted to measure dream duration by asking participants to estimate how long they have been dreaming after waking up. The results indicate that people often overestimate the length of their dreams. This discrepancy suggests that our subjective experience of time in dreams is not only influenced by the content of the dream, but also by our cognitive processing after waking. Our brains attempt to make sense of the dream narrative, which can lead to a skewed perception of how much time has actually passed. Cultural factors also play a role in how we perceive time in dreams. Different cultures have varying beliefs and interpretations about dreams, which can shape individuals' experiences and expectations. For example, some cultures view dreams as a continuation of life, where time is fluid and not bound by the constraints of waking reality. This perspective might enhance the feeling of time dilation or contraction in dreams, as individuals immerse themselves in the dream world without the usual time markers we rely on during our waking hours. Furthermore, the influence of technology on time awareness is a fascinating topic, particularly as we live in an age where our devices constantly shape our perception of time. With the advent of smartphones, smartwatches, and various applications, the way we track time has transformed dramatically. For instance, the digital clocks on our devices provide not just the current time, but also reminders, calendars, and timers, which can create a heightened sense of urgency in our daily lives. This can lead to a phenomenon known as time compression, where individuals feel as though they have less time available, even when the actual hours in a day have not changed. Moreover, technology has introduced the concept of real-time communication, which can alter our awareness of time as well. Instant messaging and social media allow us to connect with others immediately, which can make waiting for responses feel more prolonged than it might have in the past. This immediacy can lead to impatience, as people develop an expectation that everything should happen quickly, thus shifting their perception of how time flows in social interactions. Interestingly, the impact of technology on time awareness is not uniformly negative. For example, productivity applications help individuals manage their time more effectively, allowing them to allocate specific periods for tasks, set deadlines, and track their progress. This can enhance one's ability to meet goals and deadlines, fostering a more structured approach to time management. Additionally, mindfulness and meditation apps encourage users to take breaks and focus on the present moment, which can improve one's relationship with time, making it feel less like a relentless race and more like a resource to be managed thoughtfully. On another note, the rise of remote work, facilitated by technology, has blurred the lines between personal time and work time, leading to a shift in how we perceive work-life balance. Many people now find it challenging to switch off, as emails and notifications can disrupt personal time, leading to feelings of being perpetually connected to work. This constant connectivity can distort our understanding of time, making it difficult to delineate when one part of our lives ends and another begins. Additionally, the concept of time zones has become more prominent in our globalized world. Technology enables communication across different time zones, which can create confusion and complicate scheduling. As people interact with others from various parts of the globe, they must constantly adjust their understanding of time, leading to a more complex relationship with it. This phenomenon not only affects business practices, but also social interactions, as people navigate the realities of coordinating. Monotonic and non-monotonic time perception are fascinating concepts that delve into how we experience the passage of time, which can vary greatly depending on various factors, including our mental state, the activities we're engaged in, and even the context of our environment. Monotonic time perception refers to a steady, linear experience of time, where time feels like it consistently moves forward at a constant rate. This is often how we understand and measure time in our daily lives, as we rely on clocks and schedules to structure our activities. For instance, when we are engaged in routine tasks, like attending classes or working, we tend to perceive time as flowing steadily, with seconds, minutes, and hours ticking away in a predictable manner. In contrast, non-monotonic time perception describes situations where our experience of time can speed up or slow down, creating a more dynamic and, at times, confusing relationship with time. This phenomenon often occurs during moments of heightened emotion or intense focus. For example, when we are having fun or deeply engrossed in a creative task, time seems to fly by, and we might lose track of how long we have been engaged in that activity. Conversely, during stressful or boring situations, time can appear to drag on, making moments feel significantly longer than they actually are. Research in psychology suggests that our brain processes information differently during these varied experiences, which can alter our perception of time. The famous "time flies when you're having fun" notion exemplifies non-monotonic time perception, highlighting how our emotional state shapes our experience of time. Interestingly, studies have shown that age can also influence our perception of time. Older adults often report that time feels like it passes more quickly compared to their younger years, which might be linked to the number of new experiences we have. When we are young, each year is filled with new milestones and adventures, making time feel expansive. As we grow older, familiar routines can cause time to feel more compressed. Additionally, cultural factors play a role in how we perceive time, with some cultures emphasizing punctuality and structured time, while others adopt a more relaxed approach, which can influence individual experiences of time. Ultimately, understanding the distinctions between monotonic and non-monotonic time perception opens up intriguing discussions about the human experience, revealing just how subjective our relationship with time can be, shaped by our emotions, experiences, and cultural contexts. The phenomenology of time experience is a fascinating subject that delves into how we perceive time, which is not merely a ticking clock or a calendar filled with dates, but a complex interplay of our consciousness, emotions, and social interactions. Philosophers, psychologists, and scientists have investigated how time is experienced differently by individuals, depending on various factors such as age, cultural background, and personal experiences. For instance, have you ever noticed how time seems to fly when you are having fun, yet drags on during a boring lecture? This phenomenon is known as the subjective experience of time, and it reveals a lot about our mental state and engagement with the world around us. One significant aspect of time perception is the distinction between objective time, which is measured by clocks and calendars, and subjective time, which is shaped by our experiences and feelings. Researchers have identified several factors that influence our perception of time, such as attention, emotion, and memory. When we focus intently on something, time can seem to pass quickly, while when we are anxious or bored, every second can feel like an eternity. Interestingly, studies show that our emotional states can expand or compress our sense of time. Joyful moments can create a feeling of timelessness, whereas periods of grief or anxiety can make time feel slow and heavy. Moreover, cultural differences play a crucial role in how we experience time. In some cultures, time is seen as a linear progression, where past, present, and future are distinct, while in others, time is viewed more cyclically, emphasizing the interconnectedness of events and the continuous flow of time. For example, in many Western cultures, punctuality is highly valued, leading to a more rigid perception of time. A more relaxed attitude towards time can create a different experience of it, where relationships and interactions take precedence over strict schedules. Additionally, the way we mark time, through rituals, traditions, and milestones, can significantly affect our perception. Celebrations, anniversaries, and significant life events can create markers that help us understand the passage of time, providing a sense of continuity and meaning in our lives. This concept ties into the human desire to create narratives about our lives, as we often use time to structure our stories, making sense of our experiences and how they relate to one another. Neuroscience has also contributed to our understanding of time perception, revealing that specific areas of the brain are activated when we think about time. For instance, time perception varies widely across different species, influenced by their sensory systems and environmental needs. For example, studies show that many insects, like fruit flies, can perceive time much quicker than humans, allowing them to respond to threats in a fraction of a second. This rapid perception is linked to their fast neural processing, which is essential for survival, as it helps them evade predators and navigate through their environments with remarkable agility. On the other hand, larger animals, such as elephants, experience time differently. Their long lifespans and slower metabolisms contribute to a unique sense of time, which may allow them to remember and navigate vast landscapes, making them adept at finding water sources during dry seasons. In the world of birds, research indicates that species like pigeons have an acute sense of time, which aids them in navigation and foraging. They can distinguish between different durations, helping them to anticipate events and make decisions based on timing, such as when to return to their nests or when to search for food. Moreover, some studies suggest that certain bird species can even perceive time in relation to their circadian rhythms, adapting their behaviors according to the time of day. Marine creatures, such as octopuses, also display fascinating time perception abilities. They exhibit complex behaviors that indicate a strong awareness of time, like hunting strategies that depend on the timing of their prey's movements. Their ability to gauge the timing of events in their environment is crucial for successful predation, as well as for avoiding potential threats. Interestingly, research on mammals shows that dogs and cats may experience time differently compared to humans. Dogs, for example, have been found to rely on a combination of sensory cues and their internal biological clocks to gauge time, which helps them understand when it's time for walks or meals. Cats, with their unique hunting patterns, may also exhibit a different perception of time, as their crepuscular nature means they are most active during dawn and dusk, suggesting a time awareness that aligns with their predatory instincts. In the realm of primates, studies on monkeys have shown that they have a sophisticated understanding of time intervals, which allows them to anticipate future events based on past experiences. This ability not only aids in social interactions, but also plays a vital role in their foraging strategies, as they learn to associate specific times of day with the availability of food. Overall, the way different species perceive time is as diverse as the species themselves, shaped by their unique adaptations and survival strategies. Highlighting the complexity of animal, the effect of rhythm and music on time perception is a fascinating area of study, revealing how our brains process sounds and how this influences our experience of time. Research shows that when we listen to music, especially music with a strong beat or rhythm, our perception of time can actually change. For instance, fast-paced music can make time feel like it's passing more quickly, while slower, more melodic tunes can stretch our sense of time, making it feel as if it's dragging on. This phenomenon is linked to the way our brain synchronizes with the music, creating a temporal framework that alters our internal clock. One interesting study found that participants who listened to upbeat music while performing a task perceived the duration of that task to be shorter than those who did the same task in silence. This suggests that engaging rhythms can distract us from the passage of time, allowing us to dive deeper into the activity at hand. On the other hand, when people listen to music that evokes strong emotional responses, such as sadness or nostalgia, they often report that time seems to slow down as they become engrossed in their feelings. Moreover, the tempo of the music plays a crucial role in this experience. Research indicates that faster tempos can boost arousal and energy levels, which might lead to an accelerated sense of time passing, while slower tempos can calm the mind and create a feeling of timelessness. This is why many people find themselves lost in thought or feeling more relaxed when listening to soothing melodies. Interestingly, studies also suggest that our past experiences with music can shape our perception of time. For example, if someone has fond memories associated with a particular song, listening to that song might evoke a sense of nostalgia that alters their perception of how much time has passed since those memories were made. This connection between music and memory highlights the powerful role that context plays in how we experience time. Additionally, rhythm has been found to influence not only our perception of time, but also our physical movements. When we move to a beat, whether dancing or walking, our bodies naturally sync with the rhythm, which can create a sense of flow and continuity in our actions. This synchronization may lead to a more fluid perception of time as we become more immersed in the rhythm of our movements. In the realm of therapy, music is often used to help individuals cope with various conditions, including anxiety and depression. The rhythmic qualities of music can help regulate emotions, which can, in turn, affect time perception. For instance, patients who listen to the neuroscience of timing is a fascinating and complex area of study that delves into how our brains perceive, process, and respond to time. At its core, timing involves various cognitive functions, including attention, memory, and motor control, all of which are interconnected in the brain's intricate network. Research shows that our ability to perceive time can vary significantly. For example, some people are better at estimating durations than others, and this skill can depend on a variety of factors including age, experience, and even the context in which the timing occurs. One of the key brain regions involved in timing is the basal ganglia, a group of nuclei that play a crucial role in coordinating movement and processing information about time intervals. The basal ganglia work in conjunction with the cerebellum, which is also involved in timing, especially in tasks that require precise movements and timing, such as playing a musical instrument or participating in sports. Interestingly, researchers have found that our perception of time can be influenced by our emotional state. For instance, when we are anxious or frightened, time may seem to slow down, allowing us to process events more thoroughly, while during enjoyable moments, time may appear to fly by. This phenomenon is often referred to as time dilation, and it highlights how subjective our experience of time can be. Moreover, studies have shown that the brain processes time not only in a linear fashion, but also in a more abstract and flexible way, allowing us to adapt our timing based on past experiences and the demands of the present moment. Another intriguing aspect of timing in neuroscience is how it relates to our circadian rhythms, the internal biological clock that regulates sleep-wake cycles and other physiological processes. Disruptions to these rhythms, such as those caused by shift work or travel across time zones, can significantly affect our perception of time and even our cognitive functions, impacting our overall well-being. Moreover, researchers have also explored how timing is crucial in social interactions, as being able to accurately gauge the timing of responses during conversations can enhance communication and understanding between individuals. Additionally, the concept of temporal prediction is essential in our day-to-day lives. As our brains continuously make predictions about when events will occur, helping us to navigate the world effectively. This predictive timing is particularly important in activities like driving, where anticipating the timing of other vehicles can prevent accidents. Understanding the brain's mechanism for timing can also have practical applications, such as in rehabilitation for individuals who have suffered from brain injuries or strokes, where the temporal lobe, a crucial part of the brain, plays a significant role in how we perceive time, an aspect that often goes unnoticed in our daily lives. Nestled beneath the temples, the temporal lobes are involved not only in processing auditory information, but also in managing aspects of memory and emotion, which are tightly intertwined with our perception of time. Research indicates that the temporal lobe helps us understand the duration and sequence of events, allowing us to gauge how long something lasts, or when something occurred in relation to other events. This ability to track time can become particularly fascinating when we consider how certain conditions, like temporal lobe epilepsy, can distort time perception. Individuals experiencing seizures in this area may report feeling like time has sped up, or even slowed down, which raises intriguing questions about how our brains construct the experience of time. Moreover, studies have shown that the right temporal lobe is especially important for the perception of longer intervals, while the left temporal lobe seems to be more attuned to shorter durations. This lateralization of function suggests that our brain's approach to time is complex and nuanced, relying on different areas to handle various timeframes. This complexity can be further illustrated through experiments where participants listen to rhythmic patterns. Those with damage to the temporal lobe may struggle to perceive these rhythms accurately, demonstrating how vital this brain region is for timing and tempo. Interestingly, the temporal lobe also plays a role in our emotional responses to time. For instance, when we're engaged in an enjoyable activity, we often perceive time to fly by, while during moments of boredom or anxiety, time can feel like it's dragging. This subjective experience of time is influenced by our memories, a function of the temporal lobe, which helps us contextualize past experiences and create a timeline for our lives. In this way, the temporal lobe is not just a passive observer of time, it actively shapes how we experience and interpret the flow of time based on our emotional states and memories. In the realm of neuroscience, researchers are delving into how the temporal lobe interacts with other brain regions to forge our understanding of time. The interplay between the temporal lobe and the prefrontal cortex, for example, is vital for planning and predicting future events, which also requires an understanding of time. This connection highlights how our perception of time is not just a simple measurement, but a complex cognitive process that involves memory, emotion, and prediction. As we explore the fascinating intrigue, the concept of timelessness in philosophy is a fascinating and complex idea, which delves into the nature of time itself and how we perceive it. Philosophers have long debated whether time is an absolute entity, something that exists independently of human experience, or whether it is a mere construct of the mind shaped by our perceptions and experiences. One of the most intriguing aspects of timelessness is the idea that certain truths, or realities, exist outside the bounds of time, remaining unchanged regardless of the temporal context. This leads us to consider the notion of eternal truths, which some philosophers argue are universal and unchanging, such as mathematical principles or ethical truths, existing in a realm that transcends our everyday experiences of past, present, and future. Additionally, the discussion of timelessness often intersects with existential themes, as philosophers like Henri Bergson have emphasized the difference between measured time, which can be quantified and divided into units, and lived time, which is subjective and varies from person to person. Bergson proposed that true reality is found in this lived experience, suggesting that moments of joy, sorrow, and creativity can feel infinitely expansive, highlighting the limitations of a purely scientific or mathematical understanding of time. This leads to questions about the nature of human existence itself, and whether our lives are bound by the linear progression of time, or if there are moments that allow us to experience a sense of timelessness, such as in deep meditation, art, or profound love, where we feel a connection that transcends our ordinary sense of temporal flow. Another compelling angle is the idea presented by some philosophers of time, like J.M.E. McTaggart, who argued that time is an illusion, proposing that our perception of past, present, and future is fundamentally flawed. McTaggart distinguished between two types of time: the A series, which refers to the flow of time as we perceive it, and the B series, which represents time as a series of events ordered without a flow. His assertion that the A series is contradictory led him to conclude that time is not real, a perspective that challenges our conventional understanding of existence and prompts us to explore how we relate to the universe without the framework of time. In contrast, certain Eastern philosophies, such as Buddhism, emphasize the idea of timelessness through the concept of nirvana, a state of liberation and enlightenment that goes beyond the cycle of birth and death, suggesting that true understanding involves transcending temporal limitations. This perspective encourages individuals to focus. Chronostasis is a fascinating phenomenon that occurs when we perceive time as standing still, particularly when we look at a clock after being distracted. Imagine glancing at a clock, only to find that the second hand seems to freeze for a brief moment, giving you the eerie sensation that time has paused. This intriguing experience arises primarily due to the way our brain processes visual information, especially in relation to our attention. When we shift our focus and then notice the clock, our brain momentarily delays processing the new visual input, creating the illusion that time has stopped. This effect is closely tied to our perception of time, which is not as straightforward as it seems. Research indicates that our sense of time can be influenced by various factors, including emotional states, attention, and even the environment around us. For instance, when we are engaged in an exciting or intense activity, time often feels like it is flying by, while during mundane or boring moments, it can drag on. This variability in our time perception is partly due to how our brains allocate resources for processing information. In terms of chronostasis, studies have shown that when we direct our attention to a specific moment, such as the instant we look at a clock, our brain may extend the processing time of that moment, resulting in the sensation of a time stop. This effect is not just limited to clocks, as it can happen with other stimuli as well, like when we suddenly turn our heads to see something interesting, and it feels like everything freezes for a split second. Interestingly, chronostasis has implications in various fields, including psychology and neuroscience. Understanding how we perceive time can offer insights into human behavior and cognition. For example, it can shed light on why some people might experience time differently during stressful situations, or how attention can warp our perception of reality. Researchers continue to explore this phenomenon, delving into the underlying neural mechanisms that contribute to these experiences. Furthermore, the study of chronostasis opens up discussions about the nature of time itself and how subjective experiences can differ from the objective measurement of time. In daily life, we can observe chronostasis in action, especially when we find ourselves distracted by an engaging conversation, only to look at the clock later and feel surprised by how much time has passed. This phenomenon serves as a reminder of the complexity of our perception and how our minds can play tricks on us, making us feel as though time is elastic. Ultimately, chronostasis not only enriches our understanding of time perception, anticipation plays a fascinating role in how we perceive time, influencing our experiences and altering our understanding of the passage of moments, as well as the unfolding of events. When we anticipate an event, our brain engages in a heightened state of awareness, which can make time seem to slow down or speed up, depending on the context. For instance, when we are eagerly waiting for something exciting, like a concert or a vacation, those moments can stretch out, feeling longer than they actually are. This phenomenon occurs because our brain is actively processing the details and possibilities of the upcoming event, leading to a richer, more vivid experience of time. On the other hand, when we are engaged in tasks that require minimal thought, or if we are bored, time seems to drag on, as our brain isn't actively engaged, leading to a different perception. Research has shown that the more we focus on an upcoming event, the more our brain's internal clock seems to expand, making the wait feel longer. This effect can be linked to the brain's dopamine levels, as anticipation often triggers dopamine release, which is associated with pleasure and reward. The more we anticipate something, the more our brain's reward system is activated, creating a sense of excitement that can distort time perception. Interestingly, anticipation can also affect how we remember events after they occur. When we look back on an anticipated event, the buildup can make the memory feel more significant and substantial, as if the time spent waiting was part of the experience itself. This is why major life events, such as weddings or graduations, often feel like they took longer to arrive, and the memories associated with them are often more vivid and impactful. In contrast, mundane or routine experiences, which lack anticipation, tend to fade quickly from memory, as they do not leave a lasting impression. Moreover, anticipation is not just limited to positive experiences. In fact, it can also occur in stressful situations, such as waiting for test results or a job interview. In these cases, the anxiety associated with anticipation can lead to the perception of time dragging as well, as the brain continues to dwell on the potential outcomes, making each moment feel prolonged. This interplay between anticipation, emotion, and time perception is an area of great interest in psychology and neuroscience, revealing the complexities of how our minds interpret the passage of time. In addition, the effects of anticipation can also be seen in everyday scenarios, like waiting for a meal to be served at a restaurant. As the experience of time in flow states is a fascinating topic that has intrigued psychologists, athletes, artists, and anyone who has ever been deeply engaged in an activity. Flow, often described as being in the zone, occurs when a person is fully immersed in a task, losing track of time and surroundings, while feeling a sense of enjoyment and fulfillment. This phenomenon was first studied by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who identified the conditions under which people experience flow, such as having clear goals, receiving immediate feedback, and facing a challenge that matches one's skill level. When individuals enter a flow state, their perception of time can become distorted. For some, hours may pass in what feels like mere minutes, while for others, an intense burst of creativity or productivity can make a short span feel like an eternity. This altered sense of time is linked to the brain's processing capabilities. During flow, the prefrontal cortex, which governs self-awareness and executive functions, may quiet down, allowing for a heightened focus on the task at hand. And this shift can lead to an unusual experience of time. For instance, athletes often report that during a game or competition, they experience time as slowing down, allowing them to react more quickly and make split-second decisions with ease. This has been observed in various sports, where athletes claim that they can see plays unfold in slow motion, giving them an advantage over their opponents. Similarly, artists and musicians may find that when they're passionately creating, the outside world fades away, and time feels irrelevant. With hours spent in a few moments of intense creativity, research also suggests that the sense of time passing differently in flow states may be linked to the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine, which not only enhance focus and motivation, but also play a role in how we perceive time. When someone is deeply engaged, the flow of information in the brain accelerates, contributing to this unique time distortion. Furthermore, flow can be achieved in various activities, from playing video games to writing, cooking, or even working on a challenging puzzle, demonstrating that this experience is not limited to traditionally creative fields or high-stakes situations. In addition, achieving flow often requires practice and effort, as individuals must develop their skills to reach that sweet spot where challenge meets ability. This means that the more one engages in an activity, the easier it may become to enter flow states. And with practice, individuals may find themselves experiencing time in remarkable ways. Stress can have a significant impact on how we perceive time, influencing our awareness and experience of it in various ways. When we are under stress, our brains enter a heightened state of alertness, which can lead to a distorted sense of time. Research suggests that during stressful situations, people often feel like time is moving slower, which is known as time dilation. This phenomenon occurs because the brain is processing more information than usual. It becomes hypervigilant, capturing more details and creating a perception that time is stretching. For instance, in a crisis, moments can feel prolonged as we remember more details from the experience, leading us to believe that time is dragging on. On the other hand, chronic stress can lead to the feeling that time is speeding up. When individuals are overwhelmed with daily pressures, such as work deadlines or personal responsibilities, they may find themselves rushing through tasks, leading to a sense of time slipping away. This can cause people to become less mindful of the present, as they focus more on managing their stresses rather than fully engaging with their current experiences. Consequently, when we are stressed, we may lose track of time altogether, making it harder to enjoy moments or appreciate activities that typically bring us joy. Interestingly, stress can also affect our ability to predict future events, as our cognitive resources are often consumed by managing immediate stress. This can lead to poor planning and an inability to allocate time effectively for future tasks. Moreover, studies have shown that stress can alter our biological clocks, affecting sleep patterns and overall well-being. Sleep deprivation, often a byproduct of stress, can further exacerbate our perception of time, making us feel more fatigued and less capable of managing our time effectively. In contrast, mindfulness practices have been shown to counteract the negative effects of stress on time awareness. Engaging in mindfulness exercises can help individuals become more present and aware of their surroundings, ultimately enhancing their perception of time. By focusing on breathing, sensations, and the environment, people can cultivate a greater appreciation for the present moment, reducing the feeling of time slipping away. This shift in perspective can transform how we experience both stress and time, leading to a more balanced and fulfilling life. In summary, stress plays a complex role in our relationship with time, altering our perceptions and experiences in significant ways. Understanding these effects can help individuals develop strategies to manage stress and enhance their awareness of time, ultimately leading to a more mindful and enriching life. Temporal illusions and cognitive biases are fascinating phenomena that reveal how our brains perceive time and make decisions. Temporal illusions occur when our perception of time does not match the actual passage of time, leading us to experience time in ways that can feel distorted or unusual. For instance, many people have experienced the sensation that time flies when they are having fun, while it seems to drag during boring or unpleasant activities. This subjective experience of time can be influenced by various factors, including our emotions, attention, and the nature of the events we are experiencing. Research has shown that when we are fully engaged in an activity, our brains may process information more efficiently, leading us to feel like time is passing quickly, whereas during monotonous tasks, our awareness of time can become heightened, making it feel as though time is moving slowly. Cognitive biases, on the other hand, are systematic patterns of deviation from norm or rationality in judgment. They can affect how we perceive the world, make decisions, and recall memories. One common cognitive bias is the anchoring effect, where individuals rely too heavily on the first piece of information they encounter when making decisions. For example, if you see a shirt priced at $100 but then see it on sale for $170, you may perceive the sale price as a better deal, even if the shirt's actual value might be much lower. Another interesting cognitive bias is the availability heuristic, which occurs when people assess the probability of an event based on how easily examples come to mind. If you frequently hear about airplane accidents in the news, You might overestimate the dangers of flying, even though statistically, it is one of the safest modes of transportation. Temporal illusions and cognitive biases can intertwine in intriguing ways, particularly in how we perceive the passage of time in relation to decision-making. For instance, when we are faced with making a choice, our perception of how much time we have can influence our decisions. If we feel rushed, we might rely more on cognitive shortcuts, increasing the likelihood of falling victim to biases. Conversely, when we take our time, we may engage in more thorough, rational thinking, leading to better decision-making outcomes. Interestingly, the study of these phenomena has practical applications in various fields, including psychology, marketing, and even law. Understanding how people perceive time can help marketers create more effective advertisements, as they can manipulate temporal perceptions to enhance emotional responses. In legal contexts, being aware of cognitive biases can help jurors and judges make more informed. Time and identity, two concepts that seem separate, are deeply intertwined in fascinating ways. Our understanding of time shapes who we are, how we perceive ourselves, and how we connect with others. For example, the way we experience time can influence our identity formation, as we often associate different stages of our lives with specific memories and milestones. The concept of time is not merely a sequence of moments, rather, it is filled with personal significance, shaping our narratives and influencing our choices. Psychologists suggest that our past experiences, along with our aspirations for the future, help to construct our sense of self. This means that, as we grow older, the passage of time allows us to redefine our identities based on the lessons we learn and the situations we encounter. Moreover, cultural perspectives on time can significantly affect identity. In many Western societies, time is viewed linearly, where past, present, and future are distinct and separate. This linear perspective can lead individuals to focus on future goals, often causing them to overlook the importance of the present moment. In contrast, some indigenous cultures and Eastern philosophies view time as cyclical, emphasizing the interconnectedness of past, present, and future. This cyclical understanding fosters a sense of belonging and continuity, as individuals see themselves as part of a larger narrative that transcends their immediate experiences. Additionally, the way we perceive time can also influence our emotional well-being. Studies have shown that individuals who are more present-oriented tend to experience greater happiness and satisfaction with life. Being mindful and aware of the present can enhance our identity by allowing us to fully engage with our experiences, relationships, and surroundings. On the other hand, those who are constantly preoccupied with the past or future may struggle with anxiety and regret, which can hinder their sense of self and personal growth. The impact of technology on our relationship with time and identity is also noteworthy. In today's fast-paced, digital world, we often find ourselves rushing through life, bombarded by information and constant connectivity. This can distort our perception of time, leading to a sense of urgency that may affect our identity. Social media, for instance, encourages us to curate our identities based on how we wish to be perceived, often prioritizing image over authenticity. The pressure to present a certain version of ourselves online can create a disconnect between our true identity and the identity we project to the world. Moreover, the concept of time zones adds another layer to our understanding of identity in a global context. As people, time perception is a fascinating topic that delves into how we understand and experience the passage of time, and it raises profound philosophical questions. For instance, can time be considered an objective reality, or is it merely a construct of human consciousness? Some philosophers argue that time exists independently of our experiences, while others, like Immanuel Kant, suggest that time is a framework that our minds use to organize experiences. This leads to intriguing discussions about whether time has a beginning or an end, or if it is cyclical in nature, as seen in various philosophical and spiritual traditions. Moreover, the subjective experience of time can vary significantly from person to person, influenced by factors such as age, culture, and emotional state. Children often perceive time as moving more slowly, while adults might feel it speeds up, especially during busy periods. This variability prompts questions about the nature of reality itself. If our perception of time can change so drastically, what does that say about the objective passage of time? Does it mean that reality is fluid, shaped by our consciousness? Or is there an underlying structure that remains constant regardless of our perception? In addition, the concept of time in physics, particularly in the theory of relativity, adds another layer to the philosophical implications of time perception. According to Einstein, time is not a fixed entity, but rather is intertwined with space, creating a four-dimensional fabric known as space-time. This raises intriguing questions about simultaneity. If two observers are moving relative to each other, they may disagree on whether two events occur at the same time. This challenges our everyday understanding of time as absolute and invites us to reconsider our assumptions about reality. Furthermore, our experience of time can also be influenced by memory and anticipation. Memories can make time feel longer or shorter, depending on how vividly we remember events. For example, a day filled with new experiences might feel longer in retrospect than a monotonous day. Anticipation can also distort our perception of time. Waiting for an exciting event often seems to drag on, while time flies by when we are engaged in enjoyable activities. This interplay between memory, anticipation, and the actual passage of time raises questions about how much control we have over our perception and whether we can consciously alter our experience of time. Philosophers like Henri Bergson have explored the idea of lived time, which emphasizes the qualitative experience of time over the quantitative measurement of it. Bergson argued that our intuitive understanding of time, shaped by experiences and emotions, memory plays a fascinating role in how we perceive the passage of time, shaping our experiences in ways we often overlook. When we reflect on our lives, we tend to remember events that were significant, joyful, or even challenging, and this selective memory can create a distortion in our sense of time. For instance, when we experience a lot of new and exciting things, like traveling to a new country or starting a new job, we tend to remember those moments vividly, and this can make time seem to stretch out. Conversely, during periods of routine or monotony, where days blend together without much variation, we often feel like time is speeding by, even though each day is filled with hours that are technically the same length as those during our more exciting times. Research in psychology suggests that the brain encodes memories differently based on the emotional intensity of an experience. When we encounter something novel or emotionally charged, our brains work harder to process that information, leading to a greater number of memories formed. This phenomenon can create the illusion that time is passing more slowly during those memorable experiences. In contrast, when we are engaged in repetitive or mundane tasks, our brains may not encode those moments as richly, leading to fewer memories being formed and resulting in the sensation that time has sped up. Additionally, age can also influence how we perceive time, as individuals often report that time seems to pass more quickly as they grow older. This could be partially explained by the fact that, as we age, we accumulate more familiar experiences, which leads to fewer new memories being created. When looking back, a year filled with repetitive days may feel much shorter than a year packed with diverse experiences, since our brains are less likely to retain detailed memories of the ordinary. Moreover, cultural factors can also shape our perception of time. Different cultures view time in distinct ways. Some see it as linear, moving steadily forward, while others view it as cyclical, with experiences repeating and returning. This cultural lens can affect how individuals remember their past and anticipate the future, influencing the emotional weight of time in their lives. In cultures that emphasize the importance of family and community, for example, shared memories of events can create a stronger sense of time's passage through collective experiences. Lastly, the concept of mindfulness can also play a significant role in our experience of time. Being present in the moment, fully engaged with our surroundings, can enhance our awareness and appreciation of time as it unfolds. When we practice mindfulness, we may find that moments, temporal order, and causality, these two concepts often intertwine, creating a fascinating framework for understanding events and their relationships. Temporal order refers to the sequence in which events occur, while causality explores the reasons behind these events and how one event can lead to another. This relationship is crucial in various fields, including science, history, and even daily life. For instance, when we consider a simple example like planting a seed, we understand that it must be planted before it can grow into a plant. This straightforward sequence illustrates temporal order, but it also speaks to causality, as the act of planting the seed causes the subsequent growth. In scientific experiments, establishing a clear temporal order is essential, as researchers must ensure that the cause precedes the effect to draw valid conclusions. Without this chronological clarity, it becomes difficult to determine whether A caused B, or if they are merely correlated, which is a common pitfall in research. In the realm of history, understanding temporal order helps us grasp the causative factors behind significant events. For example, the rise and fall of empires can often be traced back to a series of events that occurred in a specific order, such as economic changes, wars, and social movements. The fall of the Roman Empire, for instance, can be attributed to a multitude of factors, including military defeats, economic troubles, and internal strife, all of which unfolded over time, leading to its eventual decline. This complex interplay of events emphasizes how temporal order can illuminate causative relationships, allowing historians to analyze not just what happened, but why it happened. Moreover, in our everyday lives, we experience temporal order and causality continuously, often without even realizing it. When we prepare a meal, for example, we must follow a specific sequence of steps, such as chopping vegetables before cooking them. If we were to cook the vegetables before chopping them, we would face practical difficulties, highlighting how temporal order is essential to achieving our goals. Similarly, causality plays a role in our decision-making processes. When we make choices, we often consider the possible outcomes based on previous experiences, understanding that certain actions will lead to specific results. In psychology, the concepts of temporal order and causality are equally significant. Researchers explore how our brains perceive time and how this perception influences our understanding of cause and effect. For example, studies have shown that our brains are wired to look for patterns and connections, often leading us to infer causality even when it might not exist. This tendency, time perception in virtual reality, often referred to as VR, is a fascinating topic that blends psychology, neuroscience, and technology. In virtual environments, users frequently report that time seems to pass differently compared to the real world, which raises interesting questions about how our brains process time when immersed in digital spaces. Research indicates that when people engage in VR experiences, especially those that are highly immersive or engaging, they may lose track of time, sometimes believing they have spent only a few minutes in a virtual world, when in fact, hours have passed. This phenomenon can be attributed to several factors, including the level of presence or the feeling of being there in the virtual environment, as well as the cognitive load imposed by the experience. One contributing factor to altered time perception in VR is the concept of temporal dilation. This occurs when users are so engrossed in their virtual surroundings that their brain's internal clock seems to slow down, leading them to underestimate how long they have been engaged in the activity. Studies have shown that this effect can be influenced by the type of VR experience, with more interactive and immersive scenarios often resulting in greater time distortion. For instance, a thrilling game where users are actively participating may lead to a more significant perception of time flying by compared to a passive experience like watching a virtual movie. Moreover, the sensory richness of VR can also play a role in time perception. The more stimuli a person encounters, such as sound, visuals, and haptic feedback, the more their brain is occupied processing this information. This sensory overload can create the illusion that longer periods have passed, as our brains often measure time based on the number of events or experiences we encounter. In contrast, in less stimulating environments, time may feel longer, simply because fewer events are being processed. Interestingly, the age of the user can impact how they perceive time in VR as well. Younger individuals, who tend to be more adaptable to new technologies and immersive experiences, may experience time differently than older adults. Research suggests that younger users might engage more deeply with VR, resulting in a more pronounced time distortion effect. Conversely, older users may find it easier to keep track of time, possibly due to more established cognitive patterns or a different approach to technology. Another factor at play is the role of anticipation and engagement. When users are eagerly anticipating an event or are fully engaged in a task within VR, they are likely to experience time differently. For example, in a VR game, players may become so invested. The aesthetics of time in art is a fascinating subject that explores how artists convey the passage of time, memory, and change through their work. From the fleeting nature of a sunset captured in a painting, to the slow, deliberate unfolding of a narrative in a film, artists have long been intrigued by how to represent time visually. One of the earliest examples can be found in the works of the Impressionists, who captured not just a moment, but the feeling of a moment, emphasizing the effects of light and atmosphere that shift and change over time. Think of Claude Monet's series of paintings of haystacks, or the Rouen Cathedral, where the same subject is painted at different times of day and in various seasons, revealing how light alters perception and how time can transform a scene. In contrast, contemporary artists often use multimedia and technology to address the concept of time in innovative ways. Take, for instance, the work of video artists, who utilize time-lapse techniques to show the passage of time, allowing viewers to witness processes that normally unfold too slowly for the human eye to perceive. This technique can be seen in the works of artists like Bill Viola, whose video installations often explore themes of life, death, and rebirth, drawing viewers into a contemplative experience of time as both an abstract and physical phenomenon. Furthermore, the use of slow motion can create a heightened awareness of a single moment, inviting viewers to reflect on the significance of that fleeting instant and how it resonates throughout their own lives. Time is also expressed through the use of materials and techniques in sculpture and installation art. For example, the artist Andy Goldsworthy creates temporary sculptures using natural materials like ice, leaves, or stones, which are designed to change or decay over time, emphasizing the transitory nature of both art and life. These works challenge the viewer to consider their own relationship with time, as they are often left to ponder the impermanence of beauty and the inevitability of change. Similarly, the minimalist artist Donald Judd, through his geometric forms and clean lines, invites contemplation on the passage of time within the context of space, encouraging viewers to consider how their perception of time can shift based on their physical surroundings. Another interesting aspect is how time can be represented through narrative in literature and visual storytelling. In graphic novels, for instance, the arrangement of panels can manipulate time, allowing readers to experience events in a non-linear fashion, as seen in works like Mouse by Art Spiegelman or Time perception during meditation practices can be a fascinating topic, as it reveals how our minds can alter our experience of time in profound ways. Many practitioners report that time seems to slow down or even disappear altogether when they are deeply engaged in meditation. This phenomenon can be attributed to several factors, including heightened awareness, reduced distractions, and the deep state of relaxation that meditation often induces. In a typical day, our minds are bombarded with information and stimuli, which can make time feel constrained and fleeting. However, during meditation, as the mind quiets and becomes more focused, it may lose track of time, leading to what is often described as an altered state of consciousness. Research in psychology suggests that this alteration in time perception may be linked to the brain's processing of sensory information. When meditating, individuals often enter a state where they become less aware of external distractions, allowing their internal experiences to take precedence. This focused attention can lead to a phenomenon known as time dilation, where minutes might feel like hours, or vice versa. Moreover, the type of meditation practiced may also influence time perception. For instance, mindfulness meditation, which encourages present moment awareness, can lead to a richer experience of time, making moments feel fuller and more expansive. Interestingly, this altered perception of time can have beneficial effects on mental health. Many who meditate regularly report feeling less stressed and more relaxed, which can contribute to a sense of timelessness during their practice. When individuals feel less pressure from the ticking clock, they may experience a greater sense of peace and contentment. Furthermore, this sense of timelessness can extend beyond the meditation session, influencing how practitioners perceive time in their daily lives. They might find themselves feeling less rushed and more present, which can enhance their overall well-being. Additionally, cultural factors can also play a role in how time is perceived during meditation. In some cultures, especially those with deep spiritual traditions, the concept of time may be viewed more fluidly, emphasizing the importance of being present rather than adhering strictly to schedules. This cultural lens can influence how meditation practices are approached and experienced. Lastly, scientific studies utilizing brain imaging techniques have shown that during deep meditation, certain areas of the brain associated with time perception become less active, suggesting a neurological basis for these experiences. This means that the sensation of time slowing down or speeding up during meditation is not just a subjective experience, but may have a physiological underpinning as well. As more research is conducted in this area, the ethics of time management is a fascinating subject that delves into how we allocate our most precious resource time and the moral implications of our choices. In today's fast-paced world, where distractions are everywhere, understanding the ethical considerations around time management has become increasingly important. One key aspect is the concept of prioritization. When we choose to focus on certain tasks over others, we are essentially making value judgments about what is important. This raises questions about fairness and responsibility. For instance, if someone prioritizes work over family, they might miss critical moments in their loved ones' lives. This can lead to feelings of guilt, regret, and conflict, both personally and professionally. Moreover, time management often involves making decisions that affect not only ourselves, but also those around us. When we manage our time effectively, we can meet deadlines, fulfill commitments, and alleviate stress, which can have a positive ripple effect on our colleagues or family members. However, if we become overly focused on our own productivity, we might unintentionally neglect our relationships or fail to support others, leading to an ethical dilemma about the balance between self-interest and the well-being of others. Another important consideration is the impact of technology on time management. With the rise of smartphones and social media, our attention can be fragmented more than ever. This constant connectivity can lead to ethical questions about how we engage with technology. Are we using it to enhance our productivity, or are we allowing it to distract us from meaningful interactions with others? Additionally, there's the matter of work-life balance. Many people struggle to manage their time effectively between their professional obligations and personal lives. This struggle often raises ethical concerns about the expectations placed on employees to be available around the clock, which can lead to burnout and decreased well-being. Employers also have ethical responsibilities to foster a culture that respects employees' time, allowing them to have a healthy separation between work and home life. Furthermore, the ethical implications of time management can extend to our social responsibilities. For example, how we choose to spend our time can reflect our values. Volunteering or engaging in community service can be seen as an ethical use of time, benefiting both the individual and society. In contrast, spending excessive time on leisure activities at the expense of contributing to the community might raise questions about one's social responsibility. Lastly, there is the idea of time theft, which occurs when individuals waste time during work hours, whether through procrastination or excessive socializing. This can create an ethical issue, as it not. Future directions in time perception research are poised to explore several intriguing avenues, as scientists delve deeper into how we perceive time and the factors that influence our experience of it. One promising area is the intersection of time perception with virtual reality technology. As virtual environments become more sophisticated, researchers are examining how immersive experiences can alter our sense of time, revealing insights into how our brain processes temporal information in different contexts. For example, researchers are investigating how time feels elongated or compressed based on the content of experiences, such as thrilling moments in a game compared to mundane tasks, thereby offering a richer understanding of how attention and emotion shape our perception of time. Another exciting direction involves the role of culture in time perception. Different cultures have unique approaches to time, and researchers are beginning to explore how cultural frameworks influence the way individuals perceive and manage time. This line of inquiry not only expands our understanding of time perception across diverse populations, but also highlights the importance of social and environmental factors in shaping our temporal experiences. Additionally, studies are increasingly focusing on the neurobiological underpinnings of time perception, utilizing advanced imaging techniques to observe how different brain areas work together to create our experience of time. The exploration of how neurotransmitters, such as dopamine, influence our perception of time could lead to significant insights into mental health, particularly in conditions where time perception is distorted, like in anxiety or depression. Moreover, the future of time perception research may also include the impact of technology on how we experience time. With the rise of digital devices and constant connectivity, researchers are investigating how screen time, social media, and even artificial intelligence affect our temporal awareness. Questions arise around whether the fast-paced digital world accelerates our perception of time or creates a sense of time scarcity. Investigating these aspects can help us understand the psychological implications of modern technology on our daily lives. Another fascinating area of exploration involves developmental aspects of time perception. Researchers are looking into how children perceive and understand time as they grow, examining the cognitive milestones that influence their temporal awareness. Understanding how time perception develops can provide insights into educational strategies that enhance learning, as well as inform parenting practices that nurture a healthy relationship with time in children. Furthermore, the study of time perception in aging populations is gaining traction, as researchers aim to understand how our experience of time changes as we age. This research could have practical implications for improving the quality of life for older adults, particularly in relation to memory and cognitive functions. Lastly, interdisciplinary approaches combining psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy are becoming